Okay, welcome. I was asked a question by one of our friends. Why do I get offended when someone calls me a Protestant? Now, sometimes I say things a little bit over exaggerated, so I don't get offended if someone calls me a Protestant. However, it is not a true statement. Baptists are not Protestants, and I'm going to take a moment right now to answer that question. Why, as a Baptist, we don't consider ourselves Protestant. At least most don't. Now, some of the New Age Baptists maybe have no idea that they're not Protestants, but this is going to be an explanation for you. So here we go. Okay, as we get started, I want to explain to you what a denomination is. A denomination is a link. You can see here, it's a connected link, an affiliation, a line, you could say. So everything that's a denomination has a starting point. Now, technically, denomination just means kind. Like when you talk about denomination, like money, this is the tens, the 20s, different denominations. So yes, every type of church is a denomination, is a kind of its own. Even a non-denomination is like saying we're a non-kind kind of church. It's kind of redundant and kind of foolish, honestly. So they just don't want to be part of anything, which is fine. And actually, that's a very Baptist trait. Okay, I could say this, that Baptists were the first non-denominational church, and I'll explain here. Okay, so let's erase this here. All right, and let's show you what is a Protestant. Okay, so from my research, Protestantism, okay, as a Protestant, it began in 1529, supposedly, in this Diet of Speyer. Okay, and I spelled it wrong there, but S-P-E-Y-E-R, Speyer. This happened in Germany, and it all came to be by Martin Luther. So Protestantism, you could say, started in the 1500s or the 1530s. This is Protestantism. So by calling somebody a Protestant means that they were either affiliated with this movement or that they come from this movement. Now, there are many denominations that come from this movement. You could say there are, of course, Lutheran, there are Presbyterian, the Church of Christ, you could say Methodist, many different denominations. I would say most, if not all denominations could come from this one single thing, and this protesting. Now, what were they protesting? They were protesting the Catholic Church. That's what Protestantism means. They were protesting. So anyone that was protesting or comes from that protesting situation is considered a Protestant. Now, why does that offend me to be called a Protestant? In the same way that by me being called a Serbian offends most Serbians, because I was born in America, I lived most of my life in America, and I've only been here for 2 years or 3 years. So by calling me a Serbian is not true, one, and it can be offensive to Serbs who are really Serbs, okay? So I've been an American a lot longer than I've been a Serb in Serbia, okay? And let me explain that here, okay? So at this point in this Diet of Speyer, we have Martin Luther and his thing. So anything from this point forward is Protestantism. However, I'm going to reference these books to you here. This is the Trail of Blood, okay? And you can't see it here. Trail of Blood. We have it in Russian. We have it in Serbian. We also have it available to you in English. These are books by John T. Christian. These are 2 volumes, 1 and 2, and it's just a history of the Baptists. We have books here. You're welcome to check them out for free anytime. The Anabaptist Story. We have Fox's Book of Martyrs, and there's many more as well. And these talk about the history of basically people who wanted to believe the Bible without religion. They were Bible without religion people, okay? And let me show you that here. We have, this is Jesus Christ here, okay, 33 AD. You can see that, 33. From the time of Christ, there were not denominations, there were just groups of people, okay? These were people that loved God and they loved the truth, All right. Now, they existed in time. You could look at their history and their teachings, which is what's documented here about their faith, what they believed. You can find them before 300 AD. You can find them after 300 AD. And these were just people who loved God and loved the Bible. They were not part of any club or any group. They would call them the Waldensians, the Novatians, the Bogomils. You've heard of Bogomils in Serbia. But that's what they were. They were just doing their thing, all right? At one point, at 300 AD, comes the Catholic Church, and they don't like the teachings of these people, so they give these people a name, these rebaptizers, okay, these anti-Baptist people, because we would rebaptize people because they didn't have proper salvation. They were either saved by their works or some other way. But when they would come to these churches and they would hear the truth, they would be what we would considered their first baptism. But for the Catholic Church, it was very bad because they were given supposedly to them a second baptism, which is against their faith. So they wanted to give these people a name so they can persecute them, so they can kill them. And that's where the Anabaptist story comes into play. That's where the Fox's Book of Martyr comes into play, is the Catholic Church began to kill these people. And it's all over history. You can find it. And so what's happening is now what they do is the Catholic Church gives all these people a name. And what they do is they end up calling them Baptists, Anabaptists. And eventually the Ana falls off and they're just considered Baptists. So Baptists have been going on not as a denomination. I would not call Baptist a denomination as in the modern sense of the term. They are just a method, a path, a Bible without religion. That's the concept. So even we as an independent Baptist church, we have no head, we have no governance other than our church here. And that's the way it's always historically been. And so as we continue through time, there may have been some people rooting on Martin Luther saying, yeah, go for it, break away from that thing. But as far as being a partaker in it or being actually from that, not true at all. So I want to give you this short little information about Protestantism and how as a Baptist we're not Protestants. I'm not offended. Don't take me offended. But there is truth that, no, they've been here. They've been doing their thing for centuries, long before Protestantism was even a thing. Okay. And praise the Lord for Martin Luther and others. Now, Martin Luther actually and others did take part in persecuting many of the Baptists, but at least they seen that the Bible was their authority and not a religion. So praise the Lord for that. I hope that helps. I hope that kind of clears up why I am not a Protestant. We love our Protestant brothers and sisters, but I am not a Protestant. So God bless those. And but I would encourage even Protestants, don't cling so dear to your name, but follow the truth. And so I'm not Baptist because of name. I'm only Baptist because that's what the people who killed my forefathers called me. So we'll keep the name, not because we like the name or the color of the name, whatever, but because there's many people that died with their faith. And it was our enemies that called us Baptists. And I'm not scared of that. So, but just don't call me Protestant. Okay? Ciao.